morning, everybody. It's Emil from Mindful Movement Coaching. Last week, or about 2 weeks ago, I put a video out that talked about all the items and the things you should be taking into consideration when starting an exercise program or returning back into an exercise program. Today's video is specifically about program design. So, what is program design? Very simply, program design is the structure of an individual workout, the structure of the subsequent workouts that occur within, say, a week, and we call that a microcycle. And we have to take into account now the structure of the subsequent microcycles. So we'll say 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to reference that as a mesocycle. In also accounting for long-term, which could be 3 to 4 months, and we'd reference that as a macrocycle. So we got microcycles, that's within the week. We have mesocycles, we're gonna say 4 to 6 weeks, and we're gonna say a macrocycle, which can be 3 to 4 months. So it's not to overwhelm you, but it's just to give you the idea of what a trainer, what a strength coach is thinking about with regards to the broad scope of a design for your program. Now, it gets even more intricate when we look at the actual creation of your single workout, the workout that you're gonna do for that day. Very simply, we want to put some thought into the exercises that you're going to be doing in a sequential manner, because we need to put some thought into the effects with regards to your energy levels of what you're doing and having enough energy to finish that workout. So, very simply, you would not want to be doing leg extensions or hamstring curls and then saving the squat exercise for the end of your workout. Your muscles are going to be fatigued. You're not going to get the full benefit of the squat. So a full body exercise, i.e. a squat or a deadlift or a trap bar lift, lunge, really should be occurring at the beginning of the work. If you're doing, for example, plyometric work, oftentimes we want to make sure that the plyometric or the bounding, the explosive work is not occurring too far in the end of your workout. We want to make sure that that's sometimes in the middle of the workout while you still have adequate energy. We do like to do your full body lifts or some sort of preparatory lift prior to doing a plyometric drill in your workout so that your body's prepared for that. And then we'll segue into upper body. A lot of times I like to do full body lifts followed with an upper body compound movement, so it's a multi-joint, multi-muscle movement. And then we'll go back to lower body. That might be an accessory full body compound lift. And then we'll go back to the upper body and we might address the opposing action. So if you did a push motion at first, we might throw in a pull motion. And then we'll work on, say, accessory movements for the lower body, i.e. hips, hamstrings, isolated quad movement, and then we'll come in and do some isolated work maybe on the shoulders or some bicep curls and tricep presses. So we're trying to sequence the workout in such a manner that you have a sufficient amount of energy to finish the workout well and not be so fatigued that you can't finish the workout. In addition, we want to be giving some attention to the assigned weight in relation to the exercise that you're performing, the sets and reps, we reference that as volume, the applied rest periods in between those sets and exercises. And we reference that in a term we call density. So density is taking into account your loading, that's the weight you're moving, the volume, that's the reps and sets, how many times you're moving the weight, and then the rest. That we reference as density, and that tends to take into account the metabolic demand that you're experiencing in that moment. What do I mean by metabolic demand? Your general overall perceived exertion of fatigue, call that RPE. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what's occurring with the thought processes for the creation of a single workout. And what I'll often tell people, and I see some pitfalls with this with a lot of people, is they're doing the same workout weekly. And that's not going to work. You need to have balance. If you're doing squats one day, you need to get some pull motions, i.e. deadlifts or some sort of pull action. It could be a trap bar lift on the other day, and then you can cycle back to doing squats again towards the end of the week. There can be some thoughts, do you need to be doing squats and deadlifts 3 times a week, 2 times a week? Again, that takes into account the loading and the density and the metabolic demands you're applying. Secondly, I want to talk about working on deficits within movement patterns. So oftentimes when people start an exercise program with me, for instance, I'll get a middle-aged woman that's approaching me to address osteoporosis, osteopenia, and quite frankly, I have males that have the same problem as well, osteoporosis, osteopenia. And in order to address osteoporosis, osteopenia, so loss of bone mass and or even sarcopenia, which is loss of muscle mass in middle age, the best way to address that is we need to be loading your axial skeleton. This is specifically for osteoporosis, osteopenia. Your axial skeleton is your vertebral column and your hips, your innominate bone, and your pelvis, okay? How do we load those structures? With full body, load-bearing, weight-bearing lifts, a squat, a trap lift, a deadlift, maybe some lunges. But doing a bicep curl with a band or just doing maybe some hip bridges is not going to address the demands that should be applied to the body when working clinically to help with osteoporosis, osteopenia. So what am I getting at? Oftentimes I need to get the individual to move well, the skill acquisition of actually learning how to do the exercise. Condition the joint structures well before we can start loading you to create the appropriate progressive overload so that the bones will be going through the remodeling aspect to improve bone density. So how do I address that? We tend to train more nervous system and work on developing reflexive stabilization. And so an example with an intricate exercise program such as that, we want to make sure your core muscles through the torso are responding to changes of gravitational demands through the body. So we call that reflexive stabilization. We'll pick and choose the appropriate exercise that encourages that response and then follow up with subsequent exercises that tend to get a little bit more integrated to rehearse and develop the skill to be able to perform the movements well, so that I can eventually get that individual loaded effectively to address the development of bone mass. Little technical answer there. Maybe that's for an entirely other video. But again, I just want to deliver what we need to take into account when we create a sustainable long-term program for you. All right, so a bit of a detailed video there. It's not to overwhelm you, but it's really to deliver the message of the importance of setting you up for success with regards to the design of your exercise program. All right, you guys have a great day. If you have any questions, you can shoot me an email at emil@mindmovecoach.com. All right, guys, bye.